With Fortnite Season 9 soon coming to an end and bringing on Season 10, I wanted to recap on everything that happened in this crazy season. From the early days of the Polar Peak iceberg slowly cracking away, to the frantic building of this giant robot, all the way to the final event of Season 9. Everything that has happened in this season is going to be covered in this video, so you're not going to want to miss anything. Guys, this is the full Season 9 storyline in Fortnite so far. Let's get into it. The Polar Peak iceberg is changing massively. And it seems there is something inside the iceberg, and we think it's alive. Polar Peak has just gone under the biggest location change that we have seen since Season 7. More and more cracks are forming on the iceberg. But what is even more worrying is at the base of the iceberg. It seems the ice is melting closer and closer to the center, and it seems to be awaking something. The iceberg can be seen shaking, pushing out a flow of air, even knocking players back. It would seem that there is something inside this iceberg, and after the leaks that we've just had, it looks like this thing might be alive. A giant eyeball can be seen in the center of the iceberg at Polar Peak, which finally reveals to us what is alive underneath Polar Peak. Something is alive, and we have now had our eyes open to this. Literally, our eyes have been opened. In the center of the iceberg, which has slowly been melting, a giant eye seems to be peering through, staring at players in the creepiest event yet. This is probably the single most concerning thing we have ever seen in Fortnite, and it's happening right now. As the eye is so huge, it can only belong to a beast so massive, so large that we've never seen anything quite like it. And of course, it is going to be an event. It's going to be an enemy. Polar Peak's iceberg has collapsed, and the monster inside is running loose in our Fortnite world. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fortnite video for Season 9. Things have really just hit the fan. The monster deep inside the iceberg, Polar Peak, has finally smashed its way through, and it has clearly now left Polar Peak, leaving it in a massive icy rubble. What once was Polar Peak Castle is completely gone, buried under mounds of snow. Even the buildings at Polar Peak have been affected by this major change. Buildings split in half and missing chunks out of the old brickwork. This has truly been the destruction of Polar Peak. And the Ice King's throne? Well, it's no more. There's even a few iconic locations in Polar Peak that are missing. Of course, the frozen Infinity Blade that was with us for a very, very short time. As we just mentioned, the Ice King's throne is completely gone. And of course, the podium where this all started with the Fire King frozen deep within. This is all lost in this massive Polar Peak change, the biggest change we've seen in Polar Peak since Season 7. What has replaced this ice castle is simply a massive hill. Where players are unable to climb up it, they will only slide down, kind of like a big slip and slide. Although that might sound like a lot of fun, trust me, it's not. And loads of players are landing at this location right now. It is basically a brand new location, so this is the hot spot to land, and we're bound to see even more changes at this location in the next couple of weeks. Now, with what once was Polar Peak being gone, we have to talk about what left, and of course we mean the Polar Peak monster. we know something definitely left Polar Peak, and the evidence is all in the ground. Literally, we can see the evidence. Massive monster footprints can be seen heading to the southwest side of the map. A total of 5 footprints of some monster with 3 toes have left these massive footprints, causing relatively little damage on its way. I mean, this tree here is pretty shook, but he'll be alright. If some kind of monster left Polar Peak and is headed in this direction, where is it going? What is it looking for? And where is it now? This is the mystery of the monster right now. Where is it? A monster this size would be easy to find. So where is it hiding? Currently right now, players don't have a clue, but there is a few theories going round. Suggestions that this monster could have dragged itself off into the ocean, as its last footprint was seen very close to this side of the ocean. The ice castle at Polar Peak has made a return. And it looks like it has something to do with the monster. Mass reports of players seeing the Polar Peak Ice Castle dashing through our Fortnite oceans. This insane sight of the castle can only be described as a sight to see, as this once loved location peers its way out of the water and sinks back under. Players believe that this must be something to do with the Polar Peak monster that has recently escaped the Polar Peak iceberg. What is completely terrifying about these videos is the speeds that this ice castle is moving at. Imagine the size of the beast that is underneath, dragging this thing along. The current theory is this: when the beast at Polar Peak shattered its way out of the iceberg, it must not have realized that a piece of the iceberg was still attached to his back. Of course, this piece was the Ice King's castle, and every time the beast gets close to the surface of the water, we see this magnificent effect of this castle emerge from the murky waters. The Polar Peak sea monster has destroyed Snobby Shores, as players prepare for the next attack. We have just seen the next big change in our most recent Fortnite update. A building at Snobby Shores has been slashed in half by some kind of giant beast. What is left is just a rubble of what once was a beautiful house, but now there is very little left to desire. Players are speculating that there is only one thing in the game right now that is so big it could slash a house in half. And of course, it's the Polar Peak monster. It seems the storyline is now moving into a more destructive path, with the Polar Peak monster floating around in our shores. It seems it's going from location to location, destroying parts of our map. We do know that this creature is circling around the map. We know this from an Epic Games employee who regularly hints at the secrets coming in Fortnite, and he's changed his location to circling. The Polar Peak monster has arrived on land. After this OG location has been destroyed forever. Another location in our Fortnite world has been destroyed by this monster. This modern house at Pleasant Park has met its demise by some kind of giant creature, seemingly stomping or maybe taking a bite out of this once loved house. What is crazy about this event right here is not the fact that this house has been destroyed. It's the fact that this house is placed very far away from the ocean, which means this Polar Peak sea monster must have come up on land to strike his attack. This means this Polar Peak monster can and will crawl onto our Fortnite map and attack any location that he desires. any location in our Fortnite world right now could fall victim to this kind of destruction. The Polar Peak monster has destroyed Loot Lake. And the energy cable powering Neo Tilted has been torn apart. Loot Lake is the next location to be victim to the Polar Peak monster attack. This is probably the most iconic location in the game right now, and to see this giant monstrous footprint obliterate the buildings that once stood is a sight to see. Players are met with this destructive sight of tipped cars, rubbled buildings, and of course the electrical spark of this ripped up cable. Players who have been watching will know this is no surprise to us. We knew as this beast was hungry, he was going to eventually find the wire and take a bite. And it seems this is exactly what has happened. Players can see deep inside the wire, revealing a multitude of colors surrounding what seems like some kind of copper cable. As it seems at the moment, this energy cable does still work, as Neo Tilted is powered, and the lights on the cable are still on. Does this mean the energy source is still live, but it's getting weaker? Are we possibly going to see another attack on this Loot Lake cable in the coming few days? I think so. A giant robot is being built at the pressure plant. A robot big enough to take down the Polar Peak monster. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fortnite video for Season 9. We finally have the confirmation about what is going on here at the pressure plant, and it does reveal a final showdown with the Polar Peak monster. Multiple leaks have been released online, claiming that some kind of new location is coming to the game. A location described as a robot's factory. The name Robot's Factory has made multiple appearances. First of all, with this upcoming Fortnite image, revealing the word Robot's Factory. And then this week 10 leaked challenges, where once again, we see Robot's Factory. These leaks right here reveal that there is going to be a robot's factory, and we do know this location is at the pressure plant. So it does seem that this might not be a missile silo, but in fact a ginormous building base to create a futuristic type mech, probably to fight the Polar Peak monster. Construction of the giant robot at the pressure plant has officially begun. Just as we find out the date of this final Season 9 event. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fortnite video for Season 9. A huge update at the pressure plant has just been added. Large metal poles and scaffolding fill the once empty area of this volcano. But the biggest change is in the center. Two humongous robot's feet and a colossal sized leg has been constructed, and there is no argument. This is going to be a robot. This brand new added scenery in the game cannot be destroyed, so we know it is incredibly important to the storyline, and it also gives us an indication on the size of this robot. And if this robot is of an equal size to the Polar Peak monster, then we can see this really is going to be a clash of the titans. And seriously, our Fortnite world is in trouble. Seriously, it's gonna get crazy. we are expecting more and more pieces of this robot to be constructed over the course of the next couple of days. In fact, we do know the next stage of the building is going to be another leg muscle, and then a thigh, and then the torso. Of course, we do know all of this from some major leaks that were released online, outlining the different stages and the pieces that would be added. This information was released by Fortnite on Twitter, and he has also outlined clearly the different stages that are coming in this crazy event. And of course, we do know this thing is being built by the Fortnite government, and actually by Epic Games as well. We know this by checking out an Epic Games employee that we've been following almost every video. His location has changed once again to building. This is pretty clear that he's talking about the robot that is being built at the pressure plant. The hologram countdown for Season 9's final event has been revealed. Just as the Polar Peak monster makes his final strike. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fortnite video for Season 9. Across our Fortnite world, we have seen these warning signs hinting at the incoming danger that is coming to Fortnite. These warning signs are telling players that something dangerous is coming, and they're gonna need to get high up off the ground. And these signs are holograms, and it seems these are the holograms that will display the Polar Peak monster countdown. We currently see 4 different images on these holographic signs, each one displaying its own cryptic message, such as "We can build it," referring to the robot at the pressure plant, "Duck and hover," referencing players getting high off the ground, and of course the most revealing of all, "When danger strikes, take the high ground," which is basically the same thing. It's time to get up high. But of course there is a 4th one, which is this big red exclamation mark warning sign, and this really does express imminent danger. The Polar Peak monster countdown has appeared in-game. And it looks like it's going to affect our entire map. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Fortnite video for Season 9. The Polar Peak monster countdown has now been revealed in our game and can be found floating above the hovering platforms in our game. This seems to be the countdown to the big boss battle between the giant robots and the Polar Peak monster, and we only have a week to prepare. But this doesn't just reveal when this event is going to happen, but with this release of the countdown, a major concern has been discovered. This countdown can be seen above every single floating platform in our Fortnite world. Traditionally, the countdowns have only appeared at the location where the event is going to take place. As this countdown is above every single platform, it might suggest that every single location is going to be a part of this event, which would mean a server-wide event that is going to affect everyone.